Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to episode 7 of It's Just Plain Cyber. With me, your host, as always, Terry German, and my partner in crime, Steve Arnold.
Hello, guys.
Looking as beautiful as he already is for those people that are watching on YouTube. It's going along quite nicely. This 7th episode. We're starting to pick them up a little bit more. Maybe doing two a month, which is good. And it keeps us entertained. It keeps us talking about what's going on in the security world and how we can make it better. But do you think that's right?
And we've got a guest coming next time as well.
Yes. She's in South Africa at the moment, looking at her Twitter account.
Yes, she is indeed. Hence why she did say to me she could speak to us week commencing 4th of March. So somebody's doing very well for herself. So we'll let her take center stage next week and explain to us how she got there, because that is very pertinent to this podcast in terms of she, by her own admission, came from not having a technical background and has forged a career for himself. So that's exactly.
But we'll save that for the next episode, because we don't want to come on and everybody already know what she does. So.
No, that's absolutely fine.
So before we get started, let's just do. I noticed on episode 6 we didn't do the disclaimer.
Oh, did we not?
No, so everyone now thinks that's our view of that's our company's view of the world.
Are we in trouble now? I don't think we said anything particularly controversial, to be honest. But
no, we did. No.
Go for the disclaimer, sir.
Okay, our little disclaimer. The views of myself and Steve during this episode and any past and future episodes are our own views and not the views of our current company we work for or any of the past ones. So we've got that out of the way, so that's a little protection for ourselves. So I'll let you talk about what we're going to talk about today. The two main areas we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. Some of these areas might take longer if we were to talk about it in depth, but we'll kind of be slightly a little bit brief, so it sticks in with the 35, 30, 40 minutes that we always pick. Oh, and there's my broken arm. My broken arm, which is in cast for I think for another week. I stupidly fell over backwards and broke my wrist. But anyway, that's not security. That's stupidity.
Not risk averse, obviously.
No, I didn't do a risk assessment when I fell over there, did I?
We were talking about risk management just the last episode, I think. So the topic this time, and I think, like you said, and I think the thing is, most of these topics that we talk about could be spoken about in depth, low level, technical, and I probably would start to lose any knowledge of it anyway. So, but there's two very pertinent topics today. Cloud. What is it? Yep. Most companies will use a cloud to store data, etc. We'll go into that. But from a sort of an every person's perspective, people will always hear things like their photos from their phone are being stored on the cloud, iCloud for email, things like that. So it's kind of, what is it and how secure is it, etc. And then the other one, which I think is actually a really important topic at the moment, because it's something I'm seeing more and more of, is the online scams, whether they are AI generated videos, what's called deep fakes, things like that, whether it's generating people. I've seen a lot of them, and obviously I said one to yourself.
I've never heard of deep fakes, so that'd be quite an interesting area. I may know it as something else, but I've never heard of deep fakes before. Okay. But again, we'll go into that when we come around to it.
Yeah, and it's kind of we would have all seen them, either knowingly or not. Actually, to be fair, because sometimes people, when we start talking about it, people say, I saw somebody talking about this thing and I thought that was a bit strange. May well have been an AI generated video or a scam. It's about, because this is clearly only going to get worse, because the AI technology is only going to get better. Yeah. And it's becoming a little bit of a problem, I think. So that was kind of something I wanted to bring up, because everyone's scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, and people are going to get inundated with these videos of famous people supposedly saying things. What's legit and how do we decide
what to watch out for, really?
Yeah, exactly that. So should we start with the cloud stuff?
Yeah, Yeah,
let's go.
that's
Terry, you're the expert. What's a cloud?
Right. I find when cloud first started, or the term cloud first started, I thought it was hilarious because I've spoken to in my past experience, I've spoken to people and I say to them, "Where's your as my job as a security person?" I go into a company wherever I go, and one of the first questions I ask is, "Can you tell me where your data is stored?"
Perfect
right?
example.
Because every company needs to know where their data is stored. So if an auditor comes in and says, "Tell me where all your personal data, dealing with patient data or whatever it is, where is it stored?" And they go, "Right, it's on this system or it's on that system." So when I go to HR and I say, "Can you tell me where your data is stored?" And the first thing they do, for people who are on YouTube, they automatically look up in the sky and go, "It's in the cloud." And I said, "Right, okay, but where is it? It's in the cloud. I don't know what happens after that." So the word in the cloud, people assume it's somewhere hovering in the sky, and planes have to dodge it when they're going across different countries. But the term cloud is used to give people the feeling of their data is accessible wherever they are. So you can always see a cloud wherever you are. You could be in Dubai and you could see the cloud, and you could be in the UK and you could see the cloud. So that's the original story to make people easy to understand.
That's where it came from.
The cloud. Yeah, that's where one of the reasons it came for is because you look up at the sky. It could have been called Sky, but there's a TV station called Sky, so you can't use that. So clouds. Yeah. So if you look out your window now and you see a cloud, you could see go. Many of them. Yeah, yeah. In the UK, they're usually grey and black. And you could go to your family's house, who maybe live up in Scotland, and you can look up in that sky and you'll still see that same cloud or a cloud. So the term cloud is kind of used to make people feel that they can access this data anywhere they want. As long as they've got their login details, their credentials, they can log in and they can access it. If you lose your laptop, as long as you've got login details, you get a brand new laptop and you can connect to the cloud or the stuff you save. So that's where it comes from. But in a technical world, even though it's in the cloud, it has to be physically stored somewhere.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's the way I keep telling people is, okay, it's in the cloud, but it needs to be physically stored somewhere.
Yeah.
It may be in your server room, or it may be a virtual machine, or VM as they call it in the technical world. It may be a virtual machine, but it's still housed physically somewhere. It's not actually up in the clouds. And that's the part getting people used to it. So I don't know what your feeling of the cloud. Do you come across it in the recruitment agency world? A lot of businesses saying you have to have cloud knowledge.
Yeah, 100%. It's been a massive thing, even from day one, really. So you've got three main players, right, in the cloud world: Amazon, AWS, Microsoft, Azure, Google, playing a little bit of catch up, GCP. Yeah. And essentially, to break it down to layman's terms, it just means an external data center where if you're dealing with, I'm not going to pull any company out because everyone uses the cloud to some degree. Mm-hmm. Company A says we store our data in the cloud. It just means that they outsource that data to be stored by X company. Yeah. And that's essentially, it just means it's offshore. Then there becomes the questions about how secure is that, whether it's more secure. Some companies will go with a hybrid cloud environment whereby they'll keep some more sensitive data in-house and then offshore some of the other data. But essentially, without going into too much detail, it basically means that the data is being stored elsewhere.
Well, there's a term people who are not in the IT world of what is offshore and what is onshore.
Yeah.
Now, I always say to people, think about the word, right? Offshore, onshore. So when we say offshore, that means it's not in your building in a way. So it's offshore, so it's somewhere else. Onshore.
It's on the cloud.
Yeah, it's in the cloud. So onshore means it's with you, it's with your premises. So that's when we talk, when we hear in past episodes or future episodes where we talk about offshore and onshore, that's what it means.
Yeah. And yeah, and also and equally converse to that, a lot of a very used term is on premise.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean around the cloud thing, but yeah, on premise means things that are in house, things that are
Yeah.
within the building, within your personal data center or whatever your network is within your
Yeah.
house, on premise. Not to be confused with on premises, which a lot of people always say all the time. It really annoys me. But there you go.
Yeah. Well, that's what
but yeah,
that's what people think it is, because it's on prem. You're thinking, oh, prem must be short for premises.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I suppose technically it is, but yeah, on premise, on prem, just means in house or inshore, cloud, offshore. That's pretty much the sort of the very basic terms of it. But yeah, it's kind of, I suppose. But then the breakdown of that in terms of why I said let's talk about cloud is, he will always know that if we talk about mobile devices, that's a perfect example. Phones, whether it's iCloud email accounts, or whether they always know that their photos, for example, are, so it's okay, it's all backed up on the cloud. What does that mean? Okay, how secure is that? And that you're probably the guy to answer that, not myself.
Well,
I understand the premise of it being stored on the cloud. How secure it is, that's probably your environment.
Yeah. So if I go back in the day, if we do in the back in the day, if you looked, you had desktop PCs and you had laptops. And back in the day, we're talking what, 15, 20, maybe a little bit longer than that years, they had desktop PCs and laptops with really, really high capacity on them. So you had desktops where you could have a 5 gig, 100 gig, 20 gig, and then you'd have a little external drive, and then you'd have more external drives, and you build it up. If you look at nowadays, desktop PCs are very, very rarely used for work. They're used for gaming. Your desktop PCs and your laptops now are very, very rare that you'll find a laptop that has 500 gig storage on it in the hard drive.
Yeah.
What you'll have is you'll have something that has 100 gig or 200 gig, and then you'll have automatically you have 4 terabytes of online cloud storage. So that's where it happens now. So what it does is it takes away the fact that if you lose your laptop, back in the day, if you lose your laptop, you've lost everything. If you lost the hard drive, or the hard drive is corrupt and you can't connect it to your laptop, you lose everything. So the security of it, I feel, is better because you don't lose everything. But the big thing, and I've noted a couple of things down, the big thing when you talk about security and availability and things like that is, if you don't have internet access, you can't access your cloud storage.
No.
So these are the big things. So when you look at it, you look at the benefits, and there is a lot of benefits to cloud storage. I love it. I get my kids and my partner and my future wife to look at cloud storage and move your stuff away, because my partner's was often everything has to be saved to an external hard drive, and I physically have this external hard drive, and I have 5 or 6 of these external hard drives. Everyone backs up another hard drive, so you're always doing this. So I introduced her to the cloud and getting stuff stored up on the cloud, where she can access it from my laptop, from her laptop, from her sister's laptop, and all that. So that part is secure, but you're reliant on having internet access unless you select to have all your files and data offline availability. That's when you'll need the hard drive availability on your laptop. So the security side of it is, as long as you've got internet access, you can access it. But if you don't have internet access, then you can't access it. Also, you're relying on the provider, i.e. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, that they have security in place. But that doesn't make you sit there and say, and another thing I've said to people in past jobs, how is your data backed up? And they say Amazon does it, or Microsoft does it. Yeah. And it's that everybody because Microsoft and Amazon do it. You think that's it. I don't have to worry about my security anymore because they're doing it. That's their job. But you've still got to make sure that your data, whilst working on your laptop, is secure, and how you're going and putting it up in the cloud. and you can't just sit there and go, I'm going to put it in the cloud and then I'm going to forget about it because that's not my job anymore.
That's it.
Yeah,
it's gone.
That's it.
It's fine.
The famous shrug your shoulders where you just brush it off. It's somebody else's job now. No, but you've still got to make sure your data is secure. So if you've got personal files and you save to the cloud, don't have them not password protected. Have them files password protected, and only certain people can access them.
Sure.
Yeah. So as well as it being in the cloud, you can put the cloud will only do what you tell it to do. So if you put your bank details and all your passwords on a notepad or a Word document, and then you save that to the cloud, it doesn't mean it's secure. you can still access it, and it's still an open file. So this is what I always tell people: is even though you've got stuff on the cloud, don't sit there and think it's not my job now to protect it. It's Microsoft's or Amazon's. Protect your files. Put password protection on it. Make it a secure password. And we've talked about this in past episodes. But that's how I make sure people think it's secure rather than just rely on somebody else to do it.
And from a sort of, again, so a lot of that, when you were talking there, I was in my professional head going, towards critical data, which normally allude itself to companies. In terms of the personal layman, if you like, do you password protect things like, I presume you store photos from your phone onto a cloud?
Yeah.
Do you password protect them as well?
Yes, I password protect the folder it's in, not the individual photo itself.
Got it. Okay.
So I may have August 2026, but that folder will be password protected.
Really? And how easy is that to do? Just again, if someone's listening to this now or watching this and they're saying, that's really interesting, I totally agree, how do I go about doing that?
Well, if you go on the folder, and I think this will be something interesting for further on as we get more advanced in doing our podcast, of doing a demo on the screen. And it'd be pointless for people who are on Spotify and iPlayer, but we could still do an episode where we show people, we do a demo and show things. But when you want to password protect the file, you look at the file, you got that orange little folder. And if you right click on that orange folder, you'll see a little table, and one will say settings, and then you go into settings and it'll say password protect, and you click on it. And what it does, it encrypts that file.
Oh, okay.
Now, sometimes it will give you a randomly generated password, or it'll give you the opportunity to type a password in. Now, people are scared of passwords because they have so many. But it could be randomly generated, and you can note it down in your password managers, which we've talked about in the past, but I think it's something that we talk about again. So there is ways of password protecting a folder. And again, that will also come down to two-factor authentication, which we have talked about in the past as well.
We have, yeah.
We'll
come around to it again.
Yeah, there's lots of topics we've talked about in the past, which we can bring up again and talk about a little bit more detail. Yeah. But that's how you password protect it. And when it goes up in the cloud, it does exactly the same. It will be the same password. So you can access it from Auntie Doreen's laptop, and as long as you've got the password and all that, that's fine. So
yeah, I think it was just the explanation of what is the cloud and how secure it is. Do you should you implicitly trust it, or should you still be taking precautions, which you've fairly eloquently explained there? I think the other one, just because, as always, we've talked a little bit and we try and keep it quite short and concise, but I think the next subject is something that all of us see every day. You and I discussed just before we started recording this two very pertinent examples, and it's the sort of the emergence of AI, or artificial intelligence, deep fakes, which is something you weren't familiar with.
The wording.
Yeah, well, but that would actually the video that I showed you earlier.
Yeah,
that would be what would be considered a deep fake, but it's being able to spot an online scam. So to give an example, just because it's very difficult without a visual realization of this. So the video that I sent to Terry earlier it looked like a video from Joe Rogan. Most people know who Joe Rogan is from his podcast, things like that. he talks about a lot of subjects. I've been following him for a long time. This particular video seemed, by all intents and purposes, to show him having a podcast and discussing a topic, which sounded like him talking about this topic, but it was a conspiracy theory. We don't need to go into what it was because it's fine, whatever. Everyone's beliefs are, they can believe whatever they want, etc., etc. And then as it went on, it became quite obvious that it was a fake, a scam, if you like, to follow a channel. In this particular, relatively innocent fake, because it was just trying to get somebody to follow their channel, etc., etc. But it was a very convincing video in terms of it sounded like him talking. And this is where artificial intelligence comes in terms of the amount of information now that is available to be able to throw into a machine or a piece of software to be able to generate somebody talking. And all it will do is just pick out the words that it wants it to say, and it will pick it in the right order. And you now have a video, and it looks very convincing. But there's a lot of scams going around, and actually, quite conversely, quite amusing. But I think it's quite amusing is that Terry said he'd seen something, but it was more to do with David Hasselhoff. So it shows the difference of the people that we follow on social media. But again,
so that was there's a couple of videos, black and white videos done in the funky black and white, where David Hasselhoff is singing one of his tracks from years ago when he was popular. And David Hasselhoff is very popular in Germany. No popular anywhere else. Very popular in Germany.
Well aware of this.
I don't know why.
I'm also a big Hoff fan, by the way, but I just don't follow him on TikTok.
I was when he was in Knight Rider, but that was it. So he's got a couple of music videos which were done years ago. And what's happened now with AI, they've put the video against an Arctic Monkeys track. Now, for people who know what Arctic Monkeys are. And what they've done is they've AI'd him singing the Arctic Monkeys track, but is it transported or transferred it onto the video from years ago? So it looks like David Hasselhoff has done a version of the Arctic Monkeys track, but it's AI'd. So AI, as a security person, I like AI, but I can see the scare from it. And people may have heard of ChatGPT.
I was going to bring that. I thought I might say that for another episode, but 100%.
I've got ChatGPT. I think it's brilliant. Brilliant tool. And the biggest thing I always say with AI and with any computer, when I even go back to the days, a computer or an AI will only do what you tell it to do.
Oh, do you know what? Just not to interject there. Sorry, Terry, but even going back to because on our last episode I spoke about how I did an A-level in IT. But didn't pursue it. The first thing they said was a computer is the smartest idiot you'll ever meet. It will only do what you ask it to do, but it will do it quicker than you can.
Really well. It'll do it really well.
Yeah.
So without going into too much detail, ChatGPT is an AI tool that people can use for knowledge, and also people can use to do a little bit of cheating, if I say so. If I go into my world, say I wanted to write a privacy policy for a website, and privacy policy, without going into too much detail, is a policy that tells you what we do with your data, what your data is. So if you go onto any website, right at the bottom there'll be privacy policy or privacy statement, and in there it'll tell you what that company does and doesn't do with your data. So I could go into ChatGPT, which is an AI tool, and type in give me a privacy policy statement, and it'll go and it'll tell you what would be in a privacy policy statement. And all you do then is you copy all of that, paste it onto a Word document, and just put your company name in it or something like that, or change things like that. So it will give you that help, and it will take out a little bit of thinking time. I use my ChatGPT. I don't know if you ever use Duolingo, which is is it Babelfish or something like that? Don't you do anything, Steve?
I'm a traditional guy. What can I say? I don't even know a Chat GPT account. I do, but I'm well aware of what it is.
Duolingo is if you want to learn another language. Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm learning German at the moment. So Duolingo, they set you they got streaks. So if you do a 3 or 4 minute lesson every single day, you'll get a day streak and things like that. So on some of them, in the German one I've got, it'll give you an English statement, and then it'll ask you to translate it into German. And I'll be able to do 90% of it, but there'll be a word in there I'm not 100% sure on. So I will go on to ChatGPT and say, what is house in German? And it'll go, and house as in the house you live in. Yeah.
It's house. I know that in German.
So yeah. So it'll go in there and you'll type it in and it'll give you the answer. Right. So then you could type it into your Duolingo and carry on. So it gives you help there. So people could listen to this and say, well, isn't that Google? But Google is a search engine. So if you say, tell me all the Chinese takeaways in my local area, ChatGPT may not be able to tell you that. But what it will do is if you start asking it certain questions about certain topics, it will remember that and it will give you more detailed answer based on the questions you ask. So if you say, is it hard to take care of a cat? And it'll say, no, it's not hard to take care of a cat. And it'll say, what cats are best? What cat what's best to live in a bungalow? And it'll store all this information. And the next time you ask it a question, it'll go, right, Terry asked about cats, colors of cats and bungalows. So now the next question he's going to ask me, I'm going to give him a little bit more detail because it's called machine learning. So it will learn your answers.
There we go.
It will learn what you're doing. So when you see suspense movies or horror movies where there's a robot that is suddenly becoming human and things like that, I Am Robot or whatever that is, iRobot, things like that. Yeah. So what that robot's doing, when that robot was built, it knew nothing. So that robot now lives with you, learns about different things, and he'll learn and learn and learn to the point where he knows how to cook a meal now because you told him.
Yeah.
So as you said right at the beginning, a computer is the smartest idiot because it'll do exactly what you tell it to do. And sooner or later, AI will suddenly realize how to answer a question before you've even asked it.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that scares people with AI, especially businesses, because what's stopping someone using ChatGPT and say, right, give me a hack that will be able to break into a bank. For it doesn't do it, but it'll give you pointers. You still have to have knowledge. You know, I couldn't, some person who owns a flower shop down the road can't download ChatGPT and type in, give me a hack that will steal money from a bank, and it'll go blah, 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 blah. You still have to have knowledge of how to input that, where to put it in.
Yeah, it's yeah. There has been instances where it's been I think people have said, "Oh, write me a code that will circumnavigate a firewall." Yeah, there's various things. It's only going to get better. But yeah, I think the reason I brought that up was more around the videos and stuff like that people are seeing constantly online that look and sound very convincing, and normally from very well-known figures that clearly that are being targeted against people that follow these. So in my example, it was Joe Rogan, yourself, it was David Hasselhoff, the mighty Hoff, by the way, who is very famous in Germany. I do agree with that, but it's people can start seeing videos from people that they obviously follow, and if you follow somebody, you generally buy into what they're talking about. If all of a sudden you start getting targeted with these AI generated videos of what is essentially correlated words that they've said that they've now manipulated into a sequence which sounds like they're saying something which they've never actually said, that can be very convincing, and it's very easy to scam people that way, and it's only going to get worse.
You know what this is replacing? And when I say it, I want you to go, oh wow, you know what this is replacing? You know, in the old days, we used to get an email saying you're the last living relative of a king of Nigeria.
Yeah,
Please,
yeah.
please
I still get
transfer.
them. I still get them.
I keep replying to them. I don't get any money. So
Do you know what? If we had time, I'd bring up my Teams chat, because we actually had one to our company this week. And it wasn't exactly that, like, oh, we've got $48 billion or whatever. It was a spin-off of that, and we were like, come on, man, surely no one's falling for these days.
Yeah, so that when them last living relative of a king or a prince or something like that, when they first came out, people believed them. People went, oh wow.
Yeah. Well, they have to.
I don't know.
They wouldn't continue going if nobody was making money out of it.
Yeah, and now this AI, I think, is just replacing that. So now, so now I'll get a personal message from Eddie Murphy saying, if you send me money, I will do a personal concert for you, and I'll come round and have tea, and you'll go, oh, definitely going to do that now. So this is where and this is where you get the fake news come from, which I think is similar to your deep fake, whereas somebody's pretending to be somebody and making you do something differently.
It is. I think previously, though, it was very anonymous in that you received a text message or an email. The worrying side of it now is that you're seeing a very believable video of what looks like that person saying those exact words, and it's whether they're advertising a brand or, like I said, the one I sent you earlier, it was literally just, when you got to the end of it, it was just trying to get people to follow their account and things like that. But it clearly, and we're only really in the birth of artificial intelligence. It's only going to grow exponentially. So I think it's worrying personally from a layman's perspective. But it
depends how your brain thinks. If you're a worrier and you worry about everything, then anything new that you can't understand will make you worry.
I don't worry from a personal perspective, because I'm normally like, I'm quite risk averse, so I'm like, well, I don't believe that's true at all. But I know that if one's
your video went a bit ski whiff there. So you.
Sorry, my internet hasn't been great, but I'm not so concerned myself, because I am quite risk averse when it comes to these things. But it's more about my dad, if people, someone's nan, someone's granddad, that they could watch a video and get convinced to click on a link or whatever, and there's all these things that are going on. It's only getting worse and worse, and it's kind of how to spot, this is something you should probably not click on. Do you know what I mean? Or something even if it's just changing opinions, whether it's a video, things like politics. We're going to probably go a little bit deep there, but these are all tactics that are going to be used, and this is all technology, and it's about understanding what's kind of going on, and the use of technology, or the maluse of technology, if you like.
Yeah. Have you seen the ones where people can and this is a nice part of AI, right? Rather than a scary, but it gives you an idea. You've seen the ones where people can send pictures in of their past mother and father, and the AI will create them singing or create them speaking a sentence that they may have spoken to when you were alive. So the picture will actually start speaking and acting, and things like that. I think are quite nice, because it makes the memory of that person come back to life as if they're sitting there in front of you.
Exactly.
So that's all part of the different sides of it.
Well, that's technology, isn't it? Technology can be used for fantastic purposes, and also can be or malused or used for negative purposes as well. It's just making sure you don't fall foul of the negative side of it. Yeah.
So I think we're coming to the end of this episode, Steve. I think it's another good episode, one I've enjoyed talking to you about.
100%. I actually really enjoyed this. There's a lot, and again, like many other episodes, there's so many parts of it that we didn't touch on that we'll probably circle back on, like previous episodes.
Yeah, and people will watch them and say, "Oh, it'd be great if you can go into a little bit more detail about that." And because we kind of just skim over the top of a few things to give people an idea that it's something that you should be looking at, something that we talk about. So
100%.
that's good. It's good. So on the next one, we'll have a lovely guest. My cast will be off, so I don't know which is more important, the lovely guest or me cast off my arm. So
and Liverpool might not be top of the league as well.
All right, okay. We just leave it there for now, shall we?
Yeah, they probably will be. I just like winding up about it. To be fair.
Yeah, we don't want. Well, you're still 2 points behind anyway. So so we'll leave it there. Thanks again, everyone, for joining along on this episode, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, or on YouTube. And we'll speak to you in the next episode. Anything you want to sign off with, Steve?
Nothing particularly. I think again, we are trying to build this up. I know it does take a little bit of time. I am seeing the listeners and downloads and things grow slowly. It is a bit of a snowball effect, so I'm sure it will grow more. But again, keep saying it every time. If there is anything you do want us to talk about, let us know, because we'll sit here and shoot the breeze over anything that if people think it's something they want to hear about. So yeah, perfect. I hope everyone has a good weekend. Brilliant. Well, I say it's Friday for us, but it's coming out on Wednesday.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right. Thanks a lot, guys, ladies, gentlemen, everybody else. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.